In the gym and in the car, with our advice you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes, and talk about our sexy dates. We host events and go to clubs, but most of all we're still in love. It's getting hard for this to rhyme, just as well 'cause it's bed hopping time. Hello and welcome to the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name's Mr. H.
And I'm Mrs. H.
Thank you for joining us today. Now, before we get into the main topic of today, we've got some updates for you. Now, the reason we're a little bit late is actually because we've been on hollybobs.
We were swanning around Thailand.
I know, which was amazing.
It was really hot.
It was absolutely firkin' boiling, but we had an amazing time. We had lots of nice time to relax, lots of time to drink, apparently, and experience plenty of new things, and it was really, really awesome.
We saw elephants.
We relaxed so much after the elephants that we were like, do we want to do an episode this week? And we were like, you know what? We're a bit knackered.
We were just dead from time zones. Our bodies didn't know what time it was, what day it was, anything.
Yeah, it took a good week to recover.
Yeah.
And I think then it was like back into normal life and work and all that sort of stuff. So it took us a bit longer than normal to get this out. So we apologise.
We're sorry.
We're so sorry. Well,
it's
actually,
episode 201.
Yeah, 201.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is that we do have an episode for you today. Obviously, you're listening to it, which is amazing, right? But yeah, we just wanted to say sorry for going on holiday.
I'm not sorry for going on holiday.
We'll try not to do it again.
I did have a good time.
Had a lovely time, lovely people. It was great.
Did you enjoy your 18 hours of sitting next to me on a plane?
No, I didn't. And like some mad thing, you didn't sleep on the flight.
I managed to not sleep, even with sleeping tablets.
I know, you powered
I'm
on.
immune.
You just powered through. It was just insane. But anyway,
insane.
Before we do and go jump on the main thing that we're going to talk about, go do what, not
Yep.
here, right? Before we do that thing, we've got a reminder that our event on when?
The 18th and 19th of April.
Is still available. That's our Manchester social with the delightful Kate from Wonderless Swingers. If you want to get a ticket, go check out the links. This is just a social. It's just a chance to meet other like-minded people. If it's a selling point, you can meet us.
That's a selling point, right?
It's probably a selling point, yeah. But come along. It's
You're
gonna
a nice one.
Am I?
I can meet you.
Oh, good. You can meet me.
I'm there too, but don't let that put you off.
But come along to it. It's going to be a really fun time. We've got lots of people coming along. I'm really excited about this one. I haven't been to Manchester for years.
I've never been.
You've never been. So we're going to have a look around Manchester, do some Manchester stuff, whatever that may entail.
What is that?
I have no idea. I can't remember. It's changed.
Manchestering.
Yeah, going to be Manchester in it.
Oh, right, okay.
And I promise not to do that accent again. But yeah, we're going to go up there, have this fun social event, have people gathering, lots of networking, lots of socialising, lots of fun, lots
Sounds
of
like
partying.
A work event,
Networking. Well, I guess
it's a soiree.
Soiree, the Manchester soiree. So networking, though, is kind of what we're doing, isn't it, really?
We're building a community.
Building the community and letting you build your community by meeting other people, right?
Yeah.
Who
you can
may
exchange business cards.
You can exchange, if you've got business cards, you could absolutely do that.
Develop some blue sky strategies.
It's a legitimate bit of thinking. And yeah, you can probably exchange room numbers at some point if you're staying in one of the hotels, which is good.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Come along to that. It's going to be epic. I'm looking forward to it. Right, now that we've got that over and done with, what is today all about? Well, we've actually got some good friends.
Yes.
Who are they?
They are Curious Joe.
Are you sure?
Yes.
The Rich and Joe.
Yes. I knew they were Rich and Joe.
Yes.
And then I was like, are they curious?
So they talk about their name and their superhero name and all that sort of stuff within the course of the...
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah,
because that would explain this.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to talk about it. So we're going to play this thing now. It's a bit of an interview and we're going to explore all about their journey, talk a little bit about their ADHD diagnosis and what being neurodivergent means, all that good kind of stuff, how it applies to their lifestyle adventures. Yeah. So listen up, folks. This is going to be an epic one. Play that thing.
We've got something that's just for you. Holy shit, it's an interview.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that we have the delightful, the incredible Rich and Joe with us here today, and we are going to quiz the fuck out of them.
They look terrified.
They do. I know. I've gone into podcast voice, which has probably made it worse.
You haven't done it for like 3
Braced
weeks.
for the quizzing.
No, I haven't. I haven't done any podcast voice for. Well, I have, but only
Just
to
a
myself
regular voice.
in the mirror in the bathroom, and when I'm in the shower, and when I'm masturbating, and when I'm driving my car.
No, can you stop?
What, masturbating?
No, never.
No, it's not possible for me to do that.
Do you do that with a podcast voice?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
It's the only way you can get off these days.
yeah.
Feels so good, gentle listener.
Thanks for coming into my
That's
tissue,
what he calls his penis. Gentle listener.
gentle listener. It is. It just has one singular gentle tear. So I do need to hydrate. So let's get into it before we get derailed rather rapidly. I want to know, how would you two describe yourselves?
Do you want them to describe each other?
Yes, I want them to describe each other in vivid detail.
So, Rich, you describe Jofers.
So Joe is putting weird faces at me to try and put me off.
Don't let her derail you. Come on.
Joe is tall and dark-haired, gorgeous, legs for miles. In fact, even a beautician who does joint waxing calls her long legs, specifically.
That's like a
And
story.
has to allow extra time because it's a longer appointment because her legs are so long.
Charged by the inch.
Well, I don't like to brag, but you know.
Is that your waxing sessions?
Yeah, fun, cheeky smile, and just seems to match my insane, crazy lifestyle. So I think we're a good match.
That's cute. And Joe, how would you describe Rich?
Also tall and dark-haired, which is helpful. And my brain goes, oh, no words. He does have a very insane, crazy mind and lifestyle. And thankfully, I'm okay with it and happy to go along for the ride wherever it's fun for me too. Wants to be the life of the party all the time. Always in for anything that will raise a laugh.
Doesn't like to go to bed early.
Will
No.
not bed early. Will not be the first one to leave.
Have to be the last man standing.
And FOMO is real. 100%.
I feel you.
Oh,
I
you
feel
are
you.
the king of FOMO, aren't you, babe?
It's going to be interesting now with
The
me and
king
Simon
FOMO.
both like to be centre of attention.
We'll just let you guys talk and I'll sit and sip my tea. Yeah.
It sounds like it. You didn't mention any tea drinking, and I feel like it is an intrinsic part of Joe's personality.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You do drink a lot of tea.
Yeah.
We were on
You've just got used to that now, though. It's not a thing because it just is.
It's just normal, yeah, absolutely. Biggest mug in the house, and if we can't find that, a measuring jug has been utilised on occasions.
I thought you were calling her the biggest mug in the house. I was like, fucking hell. He's not pulling his punches today, ladies and gentlemen. He's leaned in, gone in for the kill on this
He
one.
really has. He
I
wants
think-
to be the floor, doesn't he, right now?
Do you think so? But we are on litre 3 of tea, I think. We must be about that, which is good. I think we're just getting started, though, which bodes well. So what I want to know, talking about getting started, how did you folks get started in this random lifestyle that we're all in, right?
Well, I'd had a friend previous to our relationship who was in the lifestyle, and we kind of spoke about things and had a little fun experience. And then when we first got together, we were, I think, talking about things at the time. I was quite interested in the swinging lifestyle. Joe came a bit more experience in the kind of kink and BDSM side to
I wouldn't really call it experience, but
to a
more
lesser
intrigue on that
extent.
side.
So we were talking about our kind of, kinky sides fairly early on. And I think we actually had our first fab profile in 2017. And we enjoyed just kind of mooching and perving around there and a bit of cam fun now and then. Was it around that time we had an early club visit as well to...
Wasn't long after that. Yeah.
There's a club that had recently been refurbished and reopened. And we went up on their soft opening night of a Thursday night, which turns out they didn't advertise. So there was the sum total of about 8 people there.
Including the staff.
Nice.
Yeah.
But it was nice. We got a kind of guided tour around there and got to, play a little kind of peekaboo with different things going on. And so we had a kind of light touch club experience, but then didn't really do anything after that. COVID came along, which again curtailed a lot of things, but that was around the time I found the Hoppers podcast and was listening from probably kind of 2019 onwards and carried on through it got me through the dark days of COVID. It was my release. The dulcet tones.
And I'm so excited because I remember when you got engaged as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Hoppers to thank for this. It wasn't one of your events.
I know, I love that. I feel we're like blind date now.
I definitely didn't think that through, because when you're then telling friends and family and they're like, oh, lovely, how did it happen? Where are you? What did you do? Like,
Yeah, you didn't think about that at all. I thought about that, and we're going to have to do something tomorrow as a backup story for the people not in the know, which is good. But yeah, so it was the lifestyle question we started on. So it was after all that soft, like, perving, and then, oh no, COVID, can't possibly think about, taking any of that forward, leave it alone, all of that crap. And then eventually one of the episodes you guys had mentioned an event or overactive mind or what if, and one night went, what do you think about this? Would you be interested in going? Because we touched on it very gently earlier with the fab stuff, and maybe we could go along to one of these. That looks like fun.
Passed my phone across with the kind of booking site for this.
And with my sort of jobs and things like that, I was self-employed at the time as well, I think, mostly, and was kind of like, oh yeah, but it's a lot of money to spend on a weekend when you... Like, I don't know, and I didn't previously have any desires or thoughts about that stuff. But don't knock it till you've tried it. I can't say I won't like it. Just not entered my mind. And my only thought
pretty
was,
much been our motto ever since. Really.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't knock it till you've tried it. But I said, really, it's just the cost of it makes me go, because I don't know, and that's me all over. If I don't know I'm going to enjoy it, I just won't spend the money.
So I was then, is that the only barrier, is the cost? And you went, yeah, really?
Yeah.
I was like, how about if I cover it and pay for it? To which you agreed. About 3 minutes later, I was like, yeah, booked, sold, here you go.
Booked tickets. Oh, okay, it's happening. I went, okay, well, if it is happening, just to point out, if we get there and either one of us has a freak out and goes, no, I don't actually like this, we'll both leave. Yeah, agreed. Okay, that's fine. We can keep the tickets. We'll go.
I'm very glad you did.
And that was Red Hot Party. And
Was it? Oh,
wandered around in the...
yeah.
Because at that time, the hotel was a different one to where evening meet was. And the bar that obviously meeting is all glass-sided, and we're wandering up through the town trying to find Google Maps. Where is it? Where is it? And so you walk around this corner and look through a window of just everyone wearing something red. I was like, it's probably there.
There it is.
Talk about a red flag, right? So you've been in this whole thing for a little while now. How would you describe your dynamic? What sort of things are you looking for? What works for you?
It's one of those buzz things, because every time you have a conversation, someone's like, oh, what's your dynamic? And I have to say, I don't really think we have one. I'd say the nearest I can say is kind of hedonist. Like, if it feels good, we'll probably willing to give it a try. And if we like it, we'll carry on with it. And if we don't, chalk it up to experience.
But I think we've kind of gone, oh, maybe it's hot wife. Yeah, that's it. And then the more we've learned about what generally is considered a hot wife dynamic, we go, oh, but there's quite a few bits that don't quite fit. But also, we're not only hot wife, because you like to play as well, and we like to play the couple. It's definitely always both of us at the moment. We've talked about and considered whether that might change in the future if we'd consider solo stuff, but at the moment, just always both of us playing together.
Since we said we wouldn't rule it out, probably not yet, but it's, those as things change and your desires change, and you kind of push those boundaries a little bit more and more. We start potentially in the future. But yeah, so I think we both play, we both like to be involved, we both enjoy watching, both happy to kind of tap out of situations. And
not that I get many opportunities to tap out.
Because you're just so bloody hot and no one wants to get off you.
It is interesting, because when you start, we found that we took a much more everything is off the table, but, and as we've got more comfortable and had more experience, then your confidence builds with kind of what you're prepared to accept, and you become a little bit more, okay, we can play in this area because we know that it's not going to break us. And I think that's kind of how we've trundled along.
Doesn't it, over time? And you just start with what you think is going to protect your bubble, because we always put our relationship at the heart of everything. And then you think, oh, actually, we're all right. We can probably go a little bit further and a little bit further. And when something doesn't feel right, then we say no.
Yeah, I think we've had that conversation kind of going into any of the events and meetings of going, right, what are we comfortable with? What's okay? What's not? What do we need to check first?
Always on the car on the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in the car.
Part of that build-up of the excitement, I think.
That's something I think a lot of people benefit from. It's always good if you've got a journey to go to get to somewhere, because you can have that little talk on the way.
As long as you're just not sat in traffic going nowhere. Because that I am not in a good frame of mind to talk about anything at that point. And then if a fast song, like, you know, the songs where you want to drive fast to, if that comes on the Spotify or whatever, and I'm just sat in traffic going nowhere, that's like a recipe for disaster. You're not going to get anything out of me that's worth anything at all, because I am in such a mood by that point that you're just not going to.
See, I can survive that because I'm fidgety and tappy in the car, so I'll be singing along and drumming on the dashboard and the steering wheel and feet tapping.
God, you must be a delight to travel with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jo loves it. She loves my constant tapping and bouncing, and she never complains. And
it's not remotely irritating.
So what have you learned about yourself so far? Has there been any real learnings, any kind of discoveries along the way?
Well, as we've figured out, like you say, you know, what do we feel we're comfortable with, not going to break us, and that develops over time. We go, oh, actually, at the start we thought that wasn't, and now it's a consideration we can have. I'm going to say the buzzword.
Go for it.
Our communication in the lifestyle.
You dropped the C-bomb.
I know.
I feel like we should have a buzzer, like balloons get let down.
It has grown so much, but it's not just saying, oh, we must communicate more and got to talk more. We've learned how to do it between us that works for us. Like, if I know that Rich isn't in the headspace to talk about a thing, I'm either going to have to make a note, come back to it, or leave it alone, or say, I'm going to want to talk about this thing. I know you can't do it now. And then he can get himself in the space to talk about it. And the same back. If I'm just not in the right space, you have to do the same for me.
I think the surprise for me has been that, obviously, you always hear the advice of, you know, you've got to communicate as a couple. But I think for me, it's kind of transcended the lifestyle stuff. So in talking about the lifestyle stuff, it's had a knock-on effect to the rest of our life. And so at the point where we'd had the, I suppose, a vanilla relationship, and, you know, in COVID times, things could get strained, and, you know, you have those kind of petty fallouts and arguments, and you sit and brood on stuff. I think since getting into the lifestyle, you kind of think, well, at the point we've had the conversations of, you know, if Jo said, how did you feel about watching me go spit roasted by two hot 20-somethings? And once you've had that kind of conversation, suddenly talking about the dishwasher or someone leaving the washing on the floor seems a bit trivial. So you're like, well, we'll just have the conversation. It's fine. Yeah. And that's made a huge impact on our whole relationship.
Yeah, and that's then meant we've opened up more in terms of, I know that your head will go off a million miles an hour on some random thought that will end up being something that you've just got to talk about. And you can open up and talk about it and go, I had this fantasy of whatever it was, or had a thought about something. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to go, I want to go and do that next week. He just wants to be able to go, this came into my head, and what are your thoughts on it? And can we talk about it? We can talk about whatever we want to. And we've learned we're not weird for having those thoughts. And we can then go, yeah, a week down the line, we go, yeah, no, I don't really want to do that. It was just at the moment, it felt kind of kinky, and actually, no, not that interesting. And being allowed to say those things with each other, we've gone, oh, we're not as weird or as strange as we thought we were.
So I think
everyone has those thoughts.
Yeah, you have those conversations, you realise that you both have those thoughts and fantasies, and, you know, it's, well, I suppose from friends we talk to where, you know, they're in those relationships where they kind of moan, and they're like, you know, if the guy looks at another girl when they're driving down the road and that's it, he's getting daggers from his wife or whatever, you know, being in hypothetical but stereotypical situation. I think we've both realised of like, well, do you know what, I fancy other women and you fancy other guys, and just because we're suddenly together, that doesn't automatically stop, and I don't need to get jealous about that. It's okay. So we get to the point now where we kind of offer it out, and but
we'll ourselves up on a plate.
It's like a table for discussion.
Yeah, and we'll find eye candy on behalf of each other. You know, we drive around and somebody will be like, "Oh, have you seen her ass over there?"
I remember we used to play a really fun game like years ago. Actually, probably just at the beginning of when we were getting into this lifestyle a bit, and we used to sit in pubs together and go, right, how about that person over there, like 3 o'clock? We're trying to work out if you know, Simon would find them attractive, and he'd do the same and try and work out which person in the pub I'd also find attractive. It's really hard though. I think women I can probably guess on you at your front, but men, to this day, you still don't know, do you? Still don't know, and I suppose I'm relatively easy to guess for. I am an open book. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that I'm just like staring at them blatantly, and it probably gives it away half the time, though. That may.
So generally female and willing.
Yeah, enthusiastically willing.
And if it's like Zoe Deschanel, then
That helps. That helps with a lot of things. So what I want to know is what have you learned about other people? So we talked a bit about yourselves, but what have you found about others in this wonderful journey?
Everything you think about swingers is true. They're all dirty sex people. Just fuck everything.
Not on the Valance.
Absolutely not true.
Don't build that stereotype.
They're sex people, Lynn. Sex people.
I think it's that it sounds so obvious, but the realisation that everyone is just normal and they have normal lives. And, you go to an event and everyone's there and you have, flirty, fun conversations, but you're equally talking about the gardening or the dog and pets and kids and stuff. But it's nice then that those conversations can just get a bit more fruity and for that to seem perfectly normal. You kind of normal friends and work colleagues, you might have a bit of a laugh and joke and about some dirty things, but you don't really just have an open conversation about sex stuff.
Or with normal or a bit vanilla friends, as it were. I really hate the term vanilla, but it's the only one that...
Muggles.
Yeah. The muggles.
Non-visiting folk.
Non-visiting folk. Like, whenever you touch on that level of conversation, it's always with a bit of tongue-in-cheek. It's a joke. It's, get a rise out of somebody in that conversation. Not in a bad way, but in a jokey, having a laugh kind of way. And yet, then you come to lifestyle and it goes into... And you can actually seriously talk about it, and it doesn't weird the other people out, which is great. So that's good. I think just everybody's different, isn't it? And it's great to be able to open up and see all those differences.
It's been interesting from our perspective, certainly from mine, because at work we're both out, and as a result, people tend to come to me and ask almost like sex-based questions, because they're like, well, you've had a lot of sex and you've met a lot of people that have had a lot of sex.
You're a sex person.
You're a sex, but you'll know the answer. I'm having this issue. What would you do? And I find that endlessly fascinating in that these are people who just live in their normal vanilla lives, but they can't talk to their regular friends
or even their own partners
and their own partners about it, and they come and speak to me like some weird. I'm not like some Yoda sex guru, when 900 people you have fucked. Lucas, could you not? That sort of thing. But it is strange how these conversations open up in that way with other people.
It is, because we don't profess to be counsellors or anything or experts in our field.
I do. The ultimate sex
expert. You
expert.
can't calling yourself Dr. Sex Hopper. It's just not.
Dr. Sex Hopper.
Yeah, Dr. Sex Hopper.
I need that on a t-shirt. I am Dr. Sex Hopper.
Welcome to Dr. Sex Hopper's Sex Hour. Tell me your prop.
We're not counsellors and experts, but by any stretch, we just have lived experience, and our frame of reference is generally that we either have been through something, or we know someone who has, or we've encountered a situation that we think might be useful. If other people are bringing that up as a potential crisis in their own relationship. So we find that just sometimes talking things through can resolve a lot of things without you having to be a professional or an expert or anything.
It always surprises me that when we get a lot of emails from people, still to this day, which is always wonderful. But the question often is like, how do we get started in this?
How can I get my wife into this?
Yeah, and I'm like, have you spoken to them about it? That is always my first,
No. What would they say?
Yeah, start having a conversation and go from... Yeah, it goes back to that delightful communication thing. But that is so important to have that chat. And for some people...
don't know how to do that. Yeah. And I think... Do you remember... And again, it's going to elicit a buzzer here, but Secret Stag... Don't do the klaxon. But when
I do remember Secret Stag.
Stagson. Oh my god, Secret Stag.
What are they doing under the title? Do they ever leave?
No, they do have a key, I think, somewhere.
No, I love his story of how he brought up the subject of his intimate sort of fantasies and desires with Secret Vixen, and how he basically left open, I think, like an internet page or something about. A blog about something. But
I can tell you the line that he uses a lot.
Oh, yes.
It's something along the lines of, any man will be lucky to have you.
Yes, it was. But also what he said made sense, because if you just want to spark a conversation and you just don't know how to do it, then even just leaving an internet page open so that someone can go, what were you looking at? Well, let me tell you.
I'm going to start
a conversation.
leaving some really weird shit, like how to bury your wife. What happens when your cat has died?
Stop it.
How to poison your in-laws. Random shit.
So I'll just keep leaving my tentacle porn tabs
You
open.
do
though.
anyway.
I do anyway.
So many.
Regularly find your laptop with all sorts of things open, and I just go, "Oh, I know what he was up to last night." Right, close that down and move on.
Definitely, because I'm not too drunk to clear the history and close the pages before.
These boy people on my
Before you
safe
had that
list
torch.
who'll delete my internet history for me when I die.
Oh, the interesting. So I've been messing around with my Plex, which is like a media server sharing thing where you can watch all your TVs and movies or whatever on your television from
Like a big library,
like a big library, which I've got, and we share a number of libraries with other friends, particularly a lot of swinger friends, which makes it for some really interesting. Like, what are they watching? What have they got? And what are they up to? And I know this is going to a sad lot of detail, but I transferred a load of old files that I couldn't recover. Finally managed to get hold of them, and today we put on an episode this morning of Pornucopia.
Oh my God.
Which was like a weird sort of, I have no idea, in the dark web somewhere.
It's some weird
but it was
show,
like,
wasn't it?
like a look at porn, but with the actual porn in there as well.
Yeah.
And
It's a bit old now, isn't it? It was quite dated.
But it was it was made in an era, and I know I'm really like going off on a different tangent here, but when you could buy porn off the internet and you could watch it on the internet, or you could buy discs, but OnlyFans and content creation in the sense that we know it today wasn't around. And it was so fascinating to see, like, you know, they were all like, yeah, we need the next porn star and we need this and that.
Lining up in an office,
and they were all,
taking their clothes
like
off.
10,000 people coming into an office to audition. And I'm like, fucking hell.
The casting couch episodes I've seen.
But it was really fascinating to see the
interesting.
change of that, but also the ability to watch all of this stuff is fantastic. You're in for a treat later, and I'll play some amazing stuff for you.
I'll
That'll
show you
entertain you.
the pornucopia we found.
No doubt. So, talking of sort of mental journeys all over the place, one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about was your own mental journeys.
That's right, we are mental.
Weird, and we love it.
journey then, maybe.
I think what you're getting into is maybe the
Neurospicy.
discussions around neurospicy or neurodiverse conditions. So yeah, I adult diagnosed as ADHD, which now been about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, my son was diagnosed, and when I looked into it and researched on behalf of him, I was like, this is like reading a book about my own life. So I went down that journey as well, and got a diagnosis, and now medicated for it. And it's been a kind of huge journey of research and understanding, and lots of retrospection of like your past life, and going, that's why that was, and that's now I understand that situation and why I wasn't just a complete dick. There's a proper reason if I was.
You still might be a complete dick.
I am still a complete
Are you
dick.
still a complete dick now? You're medicated, or
You understand it.
the television is like tailored, like calm down.
I'm less of a dick until about 3 in the afternoon when the medication wears off.
Right.
And then it's
shit.
all dicks out.
Dickhead ahoy
It's
again.
now coming up to 5 o'clock. We're in a danger zone.
yeah, we
We're
Danger zone.
It's all right. We got up late. He took his tablet this morning.
So Joe is also, again, from following my journey through that discovery, has then just discovered some stuff about herself, and has also followed that pathway, and was just recently diagnosed within the last 3 months. Is it?
About that, yeah. 2 or 3 months. Not been on, so I've started the medication to see if it helps. I can't really tell you if it helps poor metacognition. So I don't know how much it's helping me yet, but certainly settling down on it a little bit. From my perspective, helping with focus and various life things, and it helps me manage you when you run out of meds at the end of the day a little bit better too. So
It is one. So it's a neurodevelopmental condition. It's kind of a lot about neurotransmitters and how different parts of the brain work. Everyone talks about dopamine seeking and that dopamine seeking behaviour. It's not necessarily that we lack dopamine. It's just that the transmitters in the brain don't kind of signal it very well. So you're always chasing those things to give you that, the high, the buzz, the kind of mental reward system. And it doesn't have to be, extreme adrenaline sports. It can be definitely, as simple as doing a job well at work, or you just want to complete something. But when you do it well, it's like, oh, there's a reward system there. But you I find I'm constantly chasing that reward stuff. And I love learning how to do new tasks, projects, whether it's at work or hobbies, etc. But once I can do them, and I know I can do it to a good level, it's kind of dull and not shiny then. So I'm bored of it. So it's like,
I've done it twice, so
on
I don't need to do it again.
And that's why we have a dead hobbies store. So it's kites, bikes, climbing gear, kayaks, motorbikes, cars, everything is there.
Please don't suggest any new hobbies that could be added to that list, because they will come out at some point.
Collecting Transformers, I suddenly feel inspired.
Don't do it. Don't let him do it. Don't let him do it. Danger.
It's what's in disguise.
Although I'm more likely to collect Transformers than you are, so yeah, that's all right.
So, how are you doing? Let's talk more about you.
It's a very expensive hobby, I might add.
This is true. It is an expensive
I play Candy Crush for my little dopamine fixes. Doesn't really cost me anything.
I just masturbate constantly.
Just we know. You call your penis gentle listener.
And I do Candy Crush when my brain can't do anything.
Now, when I'm sat this side of the table, Simon, it's quite distracting, honestly.
Keep your hands to yourself, Ella. So, how was it when you saying that your child was diagnosed, and then you started to sort of figure out that you might have a condition? How did you feel when that was actually diagnosed, and what was the solution for you, or the sort of support that was in place?
There is no solution. It's just everlasting hell.
So, welcome to the podcast room, friend.
Yeah. It was kind of a relief, because by going through the assessment process, there's lots of questions. You have to look at kind of how you behave in certain situations. And by the time you typically get to that point of wanting to go for a diagnosis, I was kind of thinking about it for a while, and you're starting to fill in these little blanks. But I think getting the diagnosis was a bit of a relief in a way, to go, actually, yeah, it's like I said, I'm not just a crap human being with a shit brain. There's actually there's a reason before why all this. And then you start kind of like looking back over your life and big life decisions or things that have done, that's now I understand it. So you start kind of looking into things like the diagnostic criteria that they use to measure things. And you look at there's lots of Facebook and social media is now full of little pop-up TikTok videos and all the rest of it about ADHD and neurodiversity and stuff. But you see these little things and you go, oh yeah, that's the one. That's what that's about. I think Joe mentioned earlier metacognition, which is about understanding your own feelings and thoughts, which is typically kind of quite difficult for people with ADHD. So there's questions of like, oh, how do you feel at the moment? You just got that blank. I don't know. I'm not crying and in pain. That's I suppose.
I'm still
here. How you feel about stuff. But then it's. But I think one that feeds into lifestyle stuff quite well. So I think in the diagnostic material, bear in mind that most of the diagnostic is aimed at adolescent boys. That's where most of the research has been. One of the key things they use is called risky sexual behaviour.
Oh, I see.
So it's one of the things that they say. So at a young age, if people are exploring beyond what would typically be considered for a teenage boy,
was that risky or risque?
Well, it's risky is how it's termed in the literature, and I think that it kind of goes on into the lifestyle. And we've met so many people in the lifestyle that are either on the autistic spectrum or ADHD or the kind of neurodiverse conditions. But I think it's like a misleading term. It's not necessarily about like risk taking and risky sexual practices. I think it's more about, I suppose, what
testing boundaries.
Yeah, testing boundaries, like unusual, different from the normal, monotonous accepted things. So people that want to be in the lifestyle and share their partners and don't feel that's a taboo subject of just, yeah, that's fine. And I think it's just the brain is wired that little bit different, that you're willing to accept those things and explore it and find it exciting and interesting. Not like it's, this is going to break our relationship.
I've got a question off the back of this then. So do you think having a diagnosis can sometimes be a negative thing? Because it could be that some people would say, well, the reason I behave like this is because I'm this. And I have a diagnosis that says I'm ADHD, and therefore that's why I choose to have reckless, recreational, non-protected sex. I can't help it. It's just the way my brain is wired. So to some degree, having that almost gives you a get-out-jail-free card, and it encourages the bad behaviours. And it's kind of like, well, you can't touch me because I'm this. Does that make sense? So sometimes a little bit of knowledge can lead someone down a very disruptive path, I think, because they can use it to their advantage in a bad way.
Yeah, I think you can, and we've certainly met a few people who are, I'm ADHD, so I just did this. And like I say, you can see how people can hide behind the diagnosis or use it as an excuse not to kind of modify their behaviour. But I think the other thing is actually if you understand it and you're feeling that way, it's kind of also your responsibility to say, well, how can I manage this? Not just, flippantly excuse the behaviour. And I think regardless of whether it's ADHD or non, kind of not neurodiverse, neuronormal,
Neurotypical.
but that's it, neurotypical, yeah. But some people are just arseholes.
They are.
Yeah. It shouldn't be an excuse. And it just made me think of one of the clubs that we go to. Is there's a particular person that goes, "Hey, my name is, and I've got ADHD," like as if they're setting up for an excuse for stepping over boundaries and stuff like that.
Yes, in the way for that.
We do, and in learning about it, I'm not that far into it. So being 2 years down the line, you've had more chance to actually get your metacognition and realise it was relief and what you've learned. Still quite new into it, but there's been an awful lot of times where I've gone, I'm allowed to forgive myself for the past, for not realising that these were some things that came from a condition that I didn't know about. It doesn't mean it's an excuse for the future. I'm gonna mess up. We fuck things up and we make mistakes.
Hey, I wrote that song.
I read that somewhere, but it doesn't mean I can't go, now that I've realised I made that mistake, that's my ADHD playing up, my apologies for it, and how can I put something in place to avoid doing that in the future?
And ultimately, you're right.
For us, it should go that way.
Yeah.
That diagnosis shouldn't be, that's it, I've got an excuse to be a shit human and do risky things, and I just can't tolerate X, and therefore you're going to have to accept it.
Exactly.
It should be, I have this understanding that I might need to find some compromise in the way I approach something, or, I might have to backtrack and say, sorry for putting my foot in it there, or oversharing, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's about accepting that responsibility. It's just because you understand the reason why you make certain decisions or behave in certain ways, it doesn't absolve you from the responsibility or, of your actions. You still do those things.
Because you still fundamentally know right and wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. You might say, I blur the boundaries in my head, but you still know it's wrong. And there's still a responsibility to either modify your behaviour and not do it, or apologise when you need to, when you've overstepped the boundary. And
so I'm interested to know, have you ever felt compelled to have to tell people that you've interacted with in lifestyle that you are neurodiverse in some way? Because they've made it an impossible kind of, I'm going to have to tell them something.
No, for me, the kind of lifestyle and the ADHD journey have kind of combined, so they've come along at a similar time. I guess where I think that, obviously through work, I was a bit concerned about, do I kind of tell people at work ADHD have the diagnosis? That wasn't a problem, but more about kind of social media. Do I want to put it on my business LinkedIn profile or anything like that? Do I want my customers and clients to know that I've got ADHD, and therefore does that mean I'm suddenly a less reliable
I'm going to attach a stigma thought to it. Is it going to cause me problems where I don't want it to?
Whereas actually the lifestyle, through just the conversations you have, and I think it kind of attracts a high degree of neurodiverse people, and people tend to be that much more understanding and accepting anyway. So I think it's kind of been a natural conversation. It's never felt that I've had to kind of put it out there or had to justify it in any way, because the conversations are just so much more open anyway.
And plus, it's highly probable there's a large number of people out there who probably are neurodiverse and don't know, or choose not to pursue a diagnosis because they're worried maybe about the stigma that will bring them.
Absolutely, it is a concern. Yeah, there is still a stigma to it. I think social media does a lot of things. It's great at marketing itself. I think it kind of, in a way, it reduces the stigma because there's a lot more information out there and people understand it. But to some kind of facets of society, it increases the stigma because it's the new trendy thing to have. And
sadly, I agree. It's something that I think some people actively pursue because they think it'll open doors for them in some way, or give them preferential adjustments in a workplace that they're entitled to, and it becomes this ridiculous scenario of, I am too, and so am I.
I mean, it does come under the Disability Discrimination Act, so you do get some workplace protections from it. How you interpret that and what it means is something very different, because I again think, yes, I've got this protection now under the Act. What does it protect me from? I've still got to do my job. I've still got to do it to a good level. I've still got responsibility to clients.
I still can't email my clients and tell them to F off and go, it's because I've got ADHD. That's still not okay.
But it does all go back to being in this context, being a good human being. It doesn't excuse you from being an arsehole. But obviously, if a condition means that you act in a certain way, it's about sort of helping other people understand why you might have acted that way. But it doesn't give you a I'm a limo driver, I can get through here kind of approach to life. It's not a badge to do whatever the fuck you want.
It's okay.
I mean, I definitely used it, not specifically that I felt I needed to let people know in the lifestyle, but in lifestyle and in work life, mentioned and gone, oh, okay, now that I've recognised some of the things that held me back in work life, because recently been also trying to progress with career and things like that, and there's been certain things holding me back, I've now gone, okay, and some of that is linked to some of the parts of ADHD, some of it isn't. And okay, how can I put that to my employer to say things that will help me to be a better employee would be, this is where I struggle with communication. Or if you're going to, previous management, if you're going to turn around and send us a message in the group chat and say, oh, that's it, we're having a managers meeting when you come in on Thursday. Today's Tuesday, and I go, oh crap, ADHD mind immediately goes, worst case scenario, we're all getting fired, they're closing the place, we've all lost our jobs, something really bad happened, we've had a massive complaint, there's going to be, and it might just be a 5-minute chat about, oh, this thing's come up from the higher ups and we need to tell you all at the same time. I need at least a couple of bullet points to keep that spiraling thoughts in control, because I will spend the entire 2 days stressing, not eating properly, worrying about it.
Because of emotional dysregulation and rejection sensitive dysphoria.
Yeah, exactly. So I then can't control my buzzwords, emotions about what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to spiral and worry. And then it'll come to Thursday morning. I'm going to struggle to get out of bed. I don't want to go into work. I'm going to have a horrible sense of dread on the way in. And oh my God, what are we talking about? I'm going to be sweaty palms, and I won't even be able to concentrate on just anything normal for 2 days. I need some bullet points. And that's the only reason I kind of put it forward in a work scenario, not to get anything special or anything out, but just to understand me and be a better employee. I need
an adaptation.
So with lifestyle, I then also apply the same thing. I don't want any special recognition for it. I don't want any pity, because I've lived my life. I've done okay. I'm all right. And I'm learning about it. I'll manage it. But equally, if I do X, do feel free to stop me, because I know that I will ramble for 4 hours on one subject. And if you're getting bored, please do let me know, because I won't notice your facial expression.
It's now 9 o'clock. We've missed our dinner reservation, Mother.
Right, you can stop now, and I'll go, oh, okay.
We just get it under control. About the, like I say, the bullet points for the meeting and not leaving people hanging. That's where the things like the protection of the Disability Discrimination Act come in, because you then got a protected right to ask for those modifications to work processes. And so many companies just have the blanket policies out of, that's the way we work, that's the way we do it. And that's where the protection comes in, say, actually, the way that doesn't work for me and my condition, I need it in a different format. And whether it's
provided it's a reasonable adjustment.
Yeah, can they be able to do short things, not a 28-page thing that I'm never going to.
But interestingly, workplaces don't necessarily have to have a formal diagnosis to put reasonable adjustments in place for these things. Sometimes it depends on the company, but certainly if you ask for a reasonable adjustment because you suspect you might be neurodiverse in some way, then they are obliged to do that. But again, it all depends on what you deem to be reasonable, and you have to demonstrate that it's a reasonable adjustment. So it's all quite interesting, but you don't have to have a formal diagnosis, because that can take 3 to 5 years now. That's crazy on the NHS.
So NHS waiting lists are typically at least 5 years now. A lot of health.
Get given a time frame, because all the local options within the NHS for that have been closed in our areas. So they said you're on a waiting list. We'll let you know when something reopens. Quite
a lot of health authorities have actually closed their lists and are no longer making any referrals for adult assessments for ADHD. What a lot of people don't realise is that on the NHS there is a right to choose option. So if the NHS can't meet that need within a reasonable time frame, you have the right to choose a private provider, and as long as the private provider is registered with the NHS authority, they can make a right to choose referral through them, and those routes are often quite quicker. And that's how Joe went from a never-ending waiting list and got a diagnosis through within 6-7 months to get an assessment.
Yeah, because they kind of estimated that it could take 5 or 6 years to get through this with no real date about it. And again, it's not like I wanted it quickly to get anything special, but
you just want
to then continue going, I think, and constantly going, but I don't know though, so I don't really want to say that, or I don't want to ask for these adjustments because maybe I'm just a bit rubbish at this, or maybe I'm just a bit crap and I need to try harder. To actually be able to go, oh no, that is a condition. I can forgive myself a little bit and go, right, what can I do about it? And put those things in place with a diagnosis. But I felt almost like a fraud before diagnosis in going, well, I think I'm a bit ADHD, but I'll just leave it as I'm some traits and maybe.
And that's where I think the diagnosis is really helpful, because it's you don't want that imposter syndrome, and you're almost like impose that the imposter syndrome about having a condition that means you're developmentally challenged or whatever. It's like, why does that work? But anyway, yeah, and that's where the diagnosis really comes, because I think it kind of supports what you're thinking, and goes, once you understand it, you're like, great, right, I'm not just thinking weird. No, there is a reason. I am right. I am weird. I think the right to choose thing is kind of really interesting. So if people need to look at that, if anyone's currently on the waiting list for that, have a look. Just Google right to choose. Other search engines are available. Or there's a few companies around, so Psychiatry UK or ADHD 360. If you look on their websites, there'll be an option somewhere for right to choose. You can usually download the forms, you just fill those in, send them to the GP, they just sign them off, send them back, and you can go on that waiting list.
Thank you. That's really useful information. We've talked a little bit about the ADHD stuff. Coming back to the lifestyle in general, what sort of challenges have you faced outside of the diagnosis? What have been some of the stunningly blocks?
Oh God, yeah, it's a sex podcast. Why are we not talking about sexy stuff?
It's a good question. All right.
So I've got one comes to mind. So our first, what we would sort of call loosely our first proper experience was with a single guy. We'd had some very small dabbling experiences beforehand, but proper meet up and a few hours of fun over the evening, I think it was. After we got, we can't agree on the timescale, but I think it was after we got back, Rich had that moment of a little wobble of whether it was insecurity or actually, I don't know how I feel about this now that we've done that thing with some level of, yeah, we really did. Oh no, is she going to leave? She seems to be really attracted and really keen on that guy. On the drive home, it was lots of chat about he this, he that, he that. It sent your mind spiralling, and having, learned about our communication, we're able to sit and go, he said, this is how it made me feel. And we had to come up with a way to go, right, okay, I need to explain to you why I'm focusing on that at the moment, but it's not a long-term thing. And we had to have some discussions about that.
I remember what led to that, and it was kind of knew you liked this guy, and we were at an event, and I was quite happy to engineer and push the situation to her end. It was fine, but then obviously with chat groups,
because it was your idea in the first place, obviously.
Yeah. But we carried on chat group afterwards after the event, and I think it was something. There's a mention of a hint of them being in our area. And I don't think you specifically said they could come and stay with us, but there was kind of, it could have been interpreted that way. And that's where my head spiraled. I was like, hang on, you've invited this person to stay with us. Like, we haven't discussed that. That's possibly not okay. And that was it. It kind of spiraled those emotions.
Because it was going to be with our other vanilla friend who has interest in the lifestyle. We were all going to go to like club together for social and etc. maybe. And then I just tacked on the end of because I'm also talking to one of my best friends in life and somebody I now feel quite comfortable, and we've had this great experience going, oh yeah, and we've got spare rooms and a sofa. So, if you're struggling for somewhere to stay and just to kit for a few hours, seems a shame to be having a hotel when it might only be 4 or 5 hours sleep. Just putting that out there as an offer. And I think straight after I went, yeah, I'll have to check in case I need to rescind that offer because... Oops.
And I think that's
oops.
And that's where, again, it kind of took me a bit by surprise to read that. My emotional reaction, that typical of jealousy kind of feelings of loss, of a week ago was watching you ride him, that was fine. But now I'm feeling really icky about him sleeping on our sofa. And it's that it goes on to some of the discussions we've had with some of our friends about the feelings. And, people ask, don't you get jealous or insecure? I was like, yeah, of course you do. But I think because we're doing it in the lifestyle and you agree a set of boundaries, it's kind of you get to explore those emotions within a safe space. Yeah. So it's not like the jealousy, those risks are they're just going to run off, divorce, that's it, and life is over. It's like we've agreed these boundaries. And, when you're like either watching a play situation or something, you can go, yeah, I feel a little bit that way, but I call it like jealousy light. You can feel it and explore the emotion and okay, but it's not the catastrophic thing you think it's going to be. It's just like, I'm feeling a little bit jealous now and maybe I'm just going to jump in and get involved just to get over that. So, yeah. Yeah,
we've said before, I think jealousy is not an unwelcome emotion because it's inevitable sometimes, but it's how, your perception isn't necessarily the reality of what's going on. And your jealousy just causes that to just spiral massively. But it's fine to welcome it into your head and acknowledge it and go, okay, I'm feeling it. That's probably good because it means I care. And if I didn't have it probably means I don't care as much.
Yeah, I agree. I think but it's interesting. I understand what you're saying about the boundaries because I think I'm generally quite, if we've set the boundaries and things are working within, for me, rules are quite important. And I appreciate chaos within a boundary. Like anything can happen within that set of things, that's fine. But if anything oversteps that, my ability to freak out over that is quite legendary. So, but Mrs. H is very much of the, I'm using her stage name here for dramatic purposes, obviously. And, you're much more freeform in things and you don't mind. You're like, oh, we'll get over it, or this will be fine, or this is all right. Whereas I'm like, no, the exact rule of the law was to this point here, and you have stepped over like the threshold thing that we've mentioned a number of times. And the moment when you've gone over that threshold, I'm like, well, no, you're in a different room. That is breaking the boundary. Despite the circumstance.
I put it to you, madam, on the 4th of December, you did overstep said boundary.
Yeah. And there's me going, but did you have a nice time? Yes, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah,
it doesn't matter that I was having a good time. You broke a rule. Okay.
But that's the way my brain thinks, because I understand how things, like I can think through what might happen if you go, okay, these are the rules and regulations and the fence around whatever it is. When it goes outside of that, I haven't thought about that because my anticipation is that we don't break the rules and we don't break the boundaries. So when it does happen, I have
chaos.
It is chaos, and I don't know how. And what I don't want to do is end up being upset.
I know.
So I go into defense mode because I want to protect myself from feeling upset because I haven't thought about how that might impact me. And even to this day, even I'm a bit more relaxed about it, granted, but a bit more isn't totally relaxed.
So emotional dysregulation and rejection sensitive dysphoria.
Very much so.
I've considered looking into stuff.
I want to counter this, Mr. H, for dramatic effect.
Yeah, please do.
So whilst you are a stickler for rules and you thrive on having the boundaries and the rules, my freak out, if you like, if you want to call it that, my wobbles occur within those rules because you don't break rules. Fine, we know this.
Broadly, occasionally I do.
But what you do is you flex within those boundaries to your comfort level. Okay, so you may say, well, okay, not going to leave a room. Cool, I'm okay with that. Not going to leave a room. Not going to lose sight of Carolyn. Cool, you don't do that either. But what you might do is, I don't know, go a little further with someone than I had anticipated maybe. And because I wasn't expecting it, or I was surprised or caught off guard, in my mind, that's where the jealousy gets me, because I'm like, oh shit, that's okay, he's not broken a rule, but also he's done something I wasn't expecting. So that's where my wobbles.
But that's where I pull out my notepad and go, well, if you're
broken a rule.
Yes, if you look at line 42.
You've also flexed within a boundary.
I'm always
to
flexing.
A point where it's uncomfortable.
Is that a little bit how far can he push it within said boundaries?
Exactly that. And you're like, yeah, but I didn't do this and this. Like, yes, but you also did something I wasn't expecting, or you've gone further with someone, or you've made me feel uncomfortable without realising it sometimes. And those are the areas I think where jealousy does hit me, like the intimate spooning situation we often refer to. You didn't leave a room. You could see me. You didn't, do anything I wasn't expecting, but you intimately cuddled person naked. And
After I had sex with them, I didn't just immediately throw them in the trash like the dirty whore that they were.
You didn't immediately come to me, and I think my head was going, oh my God, he's just had sex with this woman and now I need him. Not to come and have sex with me, but to come and return to me and give me a kiss and say, hey, you okay, babe? And that would have probably diffused me. But because you then went, oh, spoon, 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 I'm going to spoon this woman. I went, no, but that's not the cuddle. I need the cuddle. And she doesn't need the cuddle. She just had to dick. Sit down now. You've got the sex. I want the cuddle.
Yeah, without the derailing, it's a tricky balance, and this is one we've talked about before. And that you can't just, well, you could. But it's not our style to just like fuck someone and then be like, right, I'm done with you. Back to the corner. Yeah, out you get. Bye.
You didn't need to do that.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. You can't, or whatever. It just doesn't it's not a nice thing.
But you could have brought me in to the bed or something, maybe, or said, hey, come join us, have a cuddle together.
We could pick part of this thing, but I don't think we're ever going to get to the solution where there was a right answer for that particular moment and a right way to handle it. What we do know is that we didn't handle it in the best way. And by we, I don't necessarily mean me. And agree.
To be fair, those sort of situations are things we've had a lot of similar little bits. And again, I think because our lifestyle and ADHD learnings have come together, we're allowing to forgive each other certain things and to go, that is how it made me feel. Any human is allowed to have emotions. You don't have to be, you're not going to be happy all of the time. Yeah. If we were happy all of the time, that would be normal, and happy wouldn't feel so great. So you're going to have times where you feel a bit jealous. You go, that upset me. I don't even know why. I was just already in a shitty mood that day, and then you said this, and now I'm upset about it. But I can express that, so when we have it come up from my side, I'll turn around and go, well, that made me feel, and he can come back and say, oh, okay, well, it wasn't intended, this is what I meant. I know you were just trying to make a joke and a funny, but I just wasn't in the mood for funny, and we can sort of let that lie and go, okay, whatever.
I think some of those scenarios are quite interesting in the lifestyle. It's not the sex or the vigorous fucking that kind of causes the jealousy issues. It's like, I can watch you row this shit, that beautiful woman, but when you stroked her hair,
I know,
like that really threw me.
The intimate tug, isn't it?
It's those weird things, but that's again, it's that. And that's where that jealousy light, sometimes it's kind of interesting to explore it. It's not necessarily unpleasant. It reminds you of like, actually, I still do really care about. And which of these things. At the point you're just watching, kind of having sex with hundreds of people, you're like, yes, what time is it?
Wait, sorry, but the point you watch me having sex with hundreds of people.
Just wait till
we'll wait till we've arranged some stuff tonight.
We've got dinner first.
Yeah, we've got a couple of cans of Red Bull. You'll be fine. We'll get you through this.
Dinner first, then energy drink.
Exactly there. So with these bits of advice in mind, what advice would you give to a newbie?
Don't
drop the C-bomb.
No more communication.
We've covered that. That's a given. Everybody needs to just open up, speak their mind, and get on with it. And if you don't like it, then obviously you don't like the person that much. So split up and find somebody else, because there's plenty of fish in the sea. Lots of them are lifestyle, and you can test a few.
Thanks, Adrienne.
Go in with an open mind, I think, would be the thing, and remember that all the other people you're going to see and meet in the lifestyle are also humans with their own emotions, their own backstories, life, families, etc. And you're not weird for wanting to join in, and you can express where you're at the time, and know that if you say, at the moment we don't want to play, or at the moment we want to play together, doesn't mean that if you progress in the future you've put yourself in that box and you can't open a new box at another time.
I think the thing is, if someone's curious, it's absolutely okay to go along to an event just to have a look and see and chat. We quite often talk to some of our friends and the local club that we go to. I usually say it is a nightclub. They've got a bar and a dance area, and for the most part on a normal night, nothing really goes on there. Okay, people might be wearing a little bit less, but that's not where the sex happens. There's stuff otherwhere. So if you just want to come and just have a drink and a dance and go outside and enjoy the fresh air, you're probably not going to see an awful lot, and there's no expectation to do anything. You can just have a good night. And if that feels too much, that's it. You can bail. It's not a problem. But
nobody's going to tie you up, make you do things unless you want them to. So you're welcome to leave if it freaks you out when you get there. Like, don't worry about having an exit plan. It's fine.
So I think if they've got that curiosity, go and explore it, or go to a social event where, play's not on the cards and you can just go fruity conversations
that's
in a
good
bar.
advice, actually. Go to a social.
Love me a social. Love me a social.
If only there was a social coming up somewhere.
Maybe.
Like one in Manchester, maybe.
Yeah, different area to where.
Google it, see what's on there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Around April.
Yeah,
Maybe.
19th, something, I don't know. 18th, 19th, I don't know.
What are we doing on the 19th of April, Joe?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to check my calendar because I don't know what day it is.
I think we've got dates booked in Manchester somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably have, I think. Actually, they might be in the area.
Who'd have thunk it?
I would have done. I'd have thought it. So, if you could change one thing, and this is Mrs. H's favourite, the Room 101, if you could throw it in the bin or get rid of it, or if you could change it, what would it be?
Yeah.
One. Yeah, everyone was one.
First.
I want to say dynamics and definitions.
Definitions, labels.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah.
Labels and the point of view of like people being very defined on them. They're like, this is what hot wife means. This is what cuckold means. This is what stag and vixen means. It's actually, if you're in the lifestyle and you're enjoying it, you kind of describe it however you want. And if you want to flex those boundaries, it's fine. It's your lifestyle. It's your fun. It's your journey. Another word added. But yeah, it's kind of your experience.
Don't
and
have
it's
to
okay.
label
It's okay to define that however you want. And it's, some people are very much, well, no, we can't describe yourself as a cuckold if you don't do X, Y, Z. And,
So you're going to chuck labels in Room 101?
I have mixed feelings on labels because I think they're very important.
Room 101 though.
But it's not. But I have a thought on it. So and it's my podcast. So fuck you all. I'm going to talk about it.
Jerry Springer.
That's not my final.
remember who edits.
Exactly.
Let's hear it then. Come on. What's your thought?
So I think labels are really important, and I think the reason that they're important is because they are shorthand for explaining what you're into, what you are, and what you're doing. I don't think they're the be all and end all, and I think they should always be accompanied with a conversation. But I do think kind of like we've met people who are like, oh, we do this, and when you listen to, they're like, oh, we're a stag and vixen thing, and actually they're not. They just like the term stag and vixen. They've applied it like so far off, and like I don't know, maybe it's a kink couple or something, and they're using stag and vixen because they like the name stag and vixen. Mm-hmm. And I think in that circumstance, it causes more harm than it does good. So I think there is a relevance to all of these labels, and I think it's important to know what they mean, because like if you want an MMF or an MFM
and you ask for the wrong
and you ask for the wrong one, you're going to find out pretty quickly that it wasn't the one you were asking for.
I mean, I've organised an MMF for later with you.
I know you have, and yes. So I think
that's you three, right? So I get the cup chair this time.
That was the sound of Simon's cherry popping.
Or the sound of me shitting myself, either one.
His alter ego, Cherry Poppins.
Thank you, Cherry Poppins. Oh, blimey, Cherry Floppins. So I think they have a real importance, but I think they shouldn't be used by themselves to describe something. I think they need a conversation. So when you put that out and you go, hey, this is what we're looking for. We are it might be a hot wife couple, and we don't like, I don't know, humiliation. So we're much closer to stag and vixen. But you need to follow that up and have that chat.
So I think the labels and the terms are really useful, and that it's not those that I want to put in. I think it's the very strict, regimented definitions of them, or probably the people that insist that there's a very strict and definite definition. I think it's okay to have some flexibility and use whatever words you want to describe your dynamic.
It's your Room 101. You can do what you like.
Well, who'd have thought that people don't like being put into buckets? Like, I'm not that. I'm different. I'm separate. Don't pigeonhole me. Yeah, and that's the thing. No one likes that, other than going, unless they like really identify with one particular part and they're proud of it or whatever, for whatever reason. And then they kind of go full in, and anyone that sort of associates it with their version of it is obviously wrong. So, but I do take what you mean. I think it's, for me, labels, particularly because I write for a living, having definitions and things that accurate mean a lot, because you can't communicate without that. But I think when you have those conversations with other people and you're trying to organise a play date, for example, being able to talk about it and give examples and go, right, so for example, we don't like this or we do like that is really key to making sure that you have a good time. Otherwise, it's literally going to come back and bite you on the arse. Potentially. Put your trousers back on.
It's the whole thing where people say, oh, well, it's even this, you're not a swinger. It's like,
Well, if you don't do this bit, then you're not a hot wife.
Unless you've actually had penetrative sex with another couple, then you're not a swinger.
We met
a couple
that's
that
the kind of the
you're
ethos of
very much of that opinion.
If you didn't go to their parties and just immediately take your clothes off and start fucking someone, then you weren't a real swinger. I'm like, and this is early on in our adventures, and we were like, what? Well, like, we don't like the name swingers, but I'm going to take it back. But yeah, it was so strange how people cling to those things. Joe, let's what are you throwing in the bin? What are you chucking in room 101?
I don't know. I like that one because I feel like the names could be used as descriptive terms, but the word label is just the wrong thing for them. But what do I
have something different?
Want to put in 101? Probably just the stigma that comes with telling people outside the lifestyle. That would be great to stick that in 101.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean that I think everybody should do it. Not everybody's going to enjoy it. I'm not saying that you're all wrong. All the vanilla people out there are wrong for not, or, we're right for being in the lifestyle.
except we are.
Except we are. Obviously, we're right. But equally, just that stigma and the difficulty around explaining what the real lifestyle is, because I still find it quite difficult when you, like, before we got into it and mentioned swinging and the lifestyle or whatever, it was just that. But if I go there and I don't want to play, then am I just going to be like, I'm totally in the wrong place? And then it's just going to be, well, you shouldn't be here because, and I've learned quite quickly, certainly with this crowd that we've got into, luckily, that it is okay to start slowly, figure it out as you go along, or come along and then decide, oh, thanks for having us, but no thanks, it's not for us. That's okay, it's fine. I'll go play with somebody else instead. But everybody I've told fully expects it just to be, oh, well, that's it. Oh, well, you're just having all the sex and you're having lots of sex and this and that's happening and this is how it happens.
They do think
and you're a swinger, so you must just, when you go to these parties, oh, you're just going away for a sex weekend. well, it's loosely based around sex, yes. But there's been plenty of the weekends where we've gone, had a great connection with a number of people, chatted the night away, flopped into bed and not played at all with anybody else. A couple of occasions where we've been too exhausted to even play with each other before we fell asleep. Maybe we have a bit of play in the morning when we get up and leave the weekend. We've just had a really great night out.
So our club visits, there's probably more times we've been to a club and haven't played than we have. Or we've just had the club, gone back to a hotel room and we've had our own
fun.
Yeah. I think that's probably been more often.
Mandatory to play, to a club. You can just go and have a time.
The conversations and the experience and discussing all that stuff and the thought that there's the potential for that to happen if the stars align and the other couple we meet are equally into us as we are them. Just the thought that could happen from this weekend, and we're having a great night out. We're going to a club and dancing without feeling like we're just in a random club in Birmingham and going to get touched up left, right and centre and somebody's going to follow us around and blah, blah, blah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Stop it.
It's kind of all the sexy build-up to our own fun times. It's almost like...
This is our sex times afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say it's almost like foreplay is just a bit more than hawk to
Yeah.
Bitcoin's available elsewhere.
Those stigmas, generalised thoughts about it all, I wish that would just disappear. It can be whatever you want it to be, really, in the lifestyle.
That's a good one. You can put that one on.
I enjoyed that one. I'm not arguing on that front. I endorse that one. Nice one. So what I want to know is, what would be your ideal date? Is it going out for cheese, meat and bread and enjoying cocktails and recording a podcast in someone's house?
Because if so, you just had your perfect date.
Yes, this is exactly our perfect date as we would have imagined it.
More tea?
Done. Yeah,
having someone record our inane ramblings and then somehow edit them down into a coherent set of...
This is supposed to be coherent. And
you're going to hard job on your hands here.
Mr. H was never seen again. Rumour has it he's still editing that one show. Did you say I have a hard job on my hands?
Yeah, and then my brain went...
Oh, you said a naughty thing.
One of the groaners, and he might not do.
You know never to say these things around him. You know what he's like.
Don't forget, you say the word hard and someone will say, oh, that's what she said.
Diggity. Go on then, what's your perfect date? Do you want them to have one each or a combined
Between them,
one?
they can have a combined one.
Can we have a combined one? Okay, you do it.
One.
Well, I don't know, because we're quite
We're so different.
We're quite active and...
Oh, fuck, it's going to be
Exceptions.
kayaking, isn't it, or something?
No, it really isn't.
Oh, God, no, don't take me kayaking for a date because I'll probably just swear at you, cry. I'm going to look like a snotty mess. It's not great.
Just take a rock climbing and then you've been married in 8 years.
Yeah, apparently that's the winner.
You said rock.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to check.
Hard. I don't know. Really, I just think the events we go to is great. You rock up, we have a few drinks, food, and that is like the perfect date thing. The perfect date is having 200 other sexy fucking swingers there to join it. That's the key, I think.
That's quite a date.
Yeah. See, the reason why I kind of rolled my eyes and went, oh no, what am I going to say? Because I don't know, is it depends on the people that you're having the date with. As to, because I can't go, oh, my perfect date would be let's go rock climbing and hill walking. If you guys are totally not into that, you're going to have a shit time. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't want a date with you guys. It's going to have to work for both sides. But I do remember when we got together, we had the first date of catch up for drinks, which I say was not a date. It was a catch up because we'd met before and we were friends before. You thought it was a date. It wasn't a date. So that's why second date or second meeting up was, I went, well, if we're going to make this a date, I don't just want to sit one-on-one across a table for the standard meal and drinks. Having had a few years prior to that of trying to do the whole dating scene, and oh God, it became so tiresome of going, oh, so what do? We sit there, we order a meal, and then I'm constantly sat there going, now my mouth is full and I'm super conscious of like, have I got food on my face? Have I managed to smudge sauce at me? Oh great, I've spilt it, and oh no, now I've got a mark on my dress.
See, the opposite of my day was, oh, now her mouth is full and she can't.
My time to shine.
But I don't find it always super conducive to conversation. Just, it feels very pressured. Whereas when I went, right, let's go and do something. We knew we were both into rock climbing, so it was going to work for both sides. Let's go have a session of rock climbing. Maybe we'll go for some drinks afterwards. Let's see how the night goes. And it meant we both had a task to do that we were both comfortable with. Put your harness on, get this ready. Let's choose a route, discuss the routes. And it gave us something other than, so what have you been up to? And tell me about your life and what are you into? What do you like? What are your likes and dislikes? And all the standard conversation comes with that normal sit across a table type date. And I just went to something different. So it doesn't really matter what it is, just something a bit different would be my ideal date.
I do love the standard...
doing a podcast is pretty cool.
That's a bit different, yeah. But I like all the standard questions that you inevitably get asked, like on a lifestyle thing. It's like, so how long have you been in the lifestyle? How did you get together? Well, obviously we've asked that sort of thing. How did you get started? Who brought it up?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, have you got any funny stories? And then everyone does what I call the Jaws moment, where everyone gets out their scars. Like, have you got any shit stories where it's all gone wrong? And it's like, this is where she bit me back in whatever, and this is where this... True story that I have got some bite marks on me still from many years ago. But there's something sort of really weirdly mundane, but in a naughty, different capacity, because everyone follows that formula. And I quite enjoy that in a mad way, but it also does make me roll my eyes, because that's kind of what everyone
asks those same 4 or 5 questions. But I see, that's where I go, that to me isn't the date. So us having those conversations as part of a group or people you bump into when we're at one of your events, for example, that's just us doing a bit of a get to know you. And then the date would be, so do you guys want to meet up outside of this? Should we do something that's just us? That feels more like a date, is making it a smaller, more intimate feel. And we already know how long you've been in the lifestyle.
Because you've done all that.
Are there any of those horrible labels that no longer exist that you would, class yourself as? Would I wear this sticker or that sticker? And we already know that. And that's the bit that leads you to, do I want a date?
Yeah.
So the ideal date, we've already covered that, and we do something else.
Escape room.
Escape rooms are
Ooh,
good,
yeah, escape
but
rooms.
it's a risky proposition, I think.
Again, if the date comes after the bit of get to know you, and we've probably got some interest here, little less risky.
Well, if you can't get out of the room.
But I struggle because I just try and cheat them, because I try and be cleverer than the system.
Escape room.
Yes,
You've got to
you
can.
try.
You can.
We went to do one that used loads of just combination locks, and you had to go through and find all the numbers, but they were cheap combination locks, which are really easy to kind
So
of.
if you just
figure
cracked
out.
all the codes
So I
in the
just
room
cracked
and
all the
opened all the
boxes.
doors.
Oh, for goodness sake. Well, I don't know how to do that, so I'm obviously taking it seriously.
Now, I'm going to take some flack for this, but we've been to a number of escape rooms with Secret Stag and Secret Vixen.
Yes.
And his technique, I believe, is to, if it looks like it can move in an escape room, if it looks like it can rotate, if it looks like it's a thing,
move
it's
it, rotate it, turn it,
just
fiddle with it, open it.
You touch that thing.
no clue bit. Well, initially we go in the room and we're trying to figure out the clues. Carolyn is wandering around with an object, going, "I think this does something." And we're like, and Secret Vixen and I are probably trying to, yeah, she's
helpful.
yes,
Yes.
and she's just stood there going, "What about this? What about this?" And he's just touching everything in the he's
rotate it,
trying to rotate it,
yeah.
trying to move it, does it slide, does it unlock something? Sometimes that does work.
Ironically, he does the same in the bedroom. You believe?
I think it rotates this way.
Yeah, but it was quite funny because we've done a few. My favourite of which where we thought we'd unlocked the door and we thought we'd completed it.
Yeah.
And the door was supposed to. It was a sliding door,
it was supposed
but it
to
didn't
open.
open.
Yeah.
And she thought the door was caught. This is Secret Vixen.
Yeah.
So she just literally fucking hoofed it. And the door came off the fucking rail.
And then the voiceover, the tannoy going, "Yeah, that's not supposed to open."
Yeah. We had done it and we had got out. It's just, it slid rather than pulled open. And this door is just like hanging off like on a thread. Yeah, we got out of there with like 3 minutes to spare. Yeah. So this is Spartan moment. So yeah, there have been some interesting approaches to escape rooms. So what I want to know, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Where can people find you in the world?
Not your house.
Yeah, not outside your bins or whatever.
like
Yeah. What sites are you on? Where can people find you?
We are on Fab for the cesspit that it is, but it's still the most popular moments. Yeah, we're on Swing Hub and Spicy Match as well, I believe. We're on all of them as Tea and Biscuits.
Excellent. People go and check them out. They are a delight. I'm sure there's some spicy pictures on there somewhere.
Bound to be.
Biscuits.
I can neither confirm nor deny the appears.
There's definitely something out there.
Joe with big cups of tea. Like, yeah.
Definitely.
Tea and slippers. Yeah.
Is it rich tea and biscuits?
Oh, that would be brilliant. So we did
That's
this.
literally what it says on the profile.
Doesn't it?
Have I got to be Joe Biscuits or am I Biscuit Joe? And does that really work as a name? But Rich Tea works, and we
Yeah,
can go
it
with
does,
that
yeah.
if you want.
Yeah. And didn't Biscuit Joe actually come up with the random name that you were allocated on one of your rare apps?
On the, it's called Fished, a bit like Candy Crush with fish tanks.
I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't play it, but I'm aware of it.
That's my hyper focus on an evening. So yeah, I'm randomly called Biscuit Joe on there. I didn't choose the name. That's just the name it assigns to me. So
It knows, it's listening to you. The algorithm.
so that could work. But either way, Tea and Biscuits is the name on all the profiles.
It is.
You'll tend to find Rich will be the one that does the replying. He's the admin.
You'll be amazed to understand that it's the male half of the couple that does most of the fadmin.
I am shocked. Well, actually, not that shocked.
Attacked right now.
Are you? Well, if you were feeling so attacked, you could have typed a reply to the number of messages that we've had in the last 24 hours.
Some things.
I think I've just sunk her battleship once more. But anyway, folks, go and check them out. They are absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much for coming with us today. Are there any final thoughts, Jerry Springer style, that you would like to offer to the people before we check out?
Just want to say thank you very much for inviting us on the podcast. It's been fabulous and be good to each other.
So So I want to say an absolute huge thank you to Rich and Joe for coming along, talking with us, chatting with us, answering our random questions, talking about their ADHD stuff. Really fantastic conversation. I enjoyed it muchly.
All very educational.
Tune in next time to see what else we're going to be talking about. We don't know yet. We're going to make it up.
It's
going to be great.
Could be anything.
Could be anything. We're going to roll some dice.
Anything.
Could be amazing. But if you've got ideas about what you'd like to talk about, get in touch. Why not let us know? But Mrs. H, do you want to do your thing?
Well, thank you for hopping into our bed.
Now, a little wife told me...
I'm not a little wife, babe. After Thailand.
A wife told me...
there you go.
that she had a joke.
I do have a joke.
Do you have a joke? Are you ready for the joke? For the power of the joke at the
Someone
end?
told me this joke not 48 hours ago.
Not 40. It was more than that.
No, well, anyway, a number of hours ago.
When did they
it's
tell you
fresh.
exactly? What was
it's
the
a fresh joke, straight out of the oven.
I'm going to have to go back to the ring cam and find out when you spoke to them and get that information.
No, it's a joke that I hadn't even told you.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay,
maybe.
so it's a new one.
I think I might have told you already, actually.
You have told me
so
already.
Don't spoil my punchline, because I'm terrible at delivering them anyway. So, did you know that dogs can't operate MRI machines, but cats can? Oh, come on, that was brilliant. It's because, cats don't have opposable thumbs, or dogs don't actually, so... But it's a very
so you've
good
just
joke.
ruined your own joke with that
I
statement.
haven't ruined it. I've made it better. I've elevated it.
Have you?
Don't you think that was a great joke? Did you enjoy it?
So I enjoyed it when I read it on Facebook about a week ago, and then it's quite funny because
this is what you did. You ruined it by saying, "Oh, it's been on the Facebook."
Well,
I haven't seen it on Facebook. So
but this is what happens with a lot of your jokes. I see them on Facebook when the one joke is doing the rounds.
When the one joke,
yeah,
all right,
and then inevitably someone on your team at work will tell you this joke, and then you'll come back to the.
Oh my God, I've got this great joke.
Yeah, and that's what happens. But I enjoyed the telling of it muchly.
Did you?
No, not really.
Did you enjoy it?
No.
Why do you hate me? Why are you like this?